Welcome to Berlinale Talents 2021. Welcome again here on stage, live at Tau 2, and with the nice backing here from the entrance. And we are live here at the Tau 3 stage. And next to me is my dear friend and our colleague Dorothy Wenner. She is a filmmaker, curator, and also a delegate for the Berlin International Film Festival. And today we have the focus on international co-production. It's also a tradition at Berlinale Talents to do this session with the support of Creative Europe Media every year. And we selected a wonderful film which is selected in this year's Encounters program at the festival. And Dorothy will explain more about the crew, the dream team of this international co-production. Please enjoy the session.
Thank you very much, Christine, for this nice introduction. Welcome you all. Dream Team International Co-Productions is the title, and we have decided to focus on a film which is very special. A film, as Christina has just explained, is invited to this year's Encounter program. The title of the film is V, Taste. It's a film that is deeply rooted in Vietnam, more precisely in Ho Chi Minh City, more precisely in a neighborhood where the director, Liu Bao, has been spending his childhood and lived and feels very, very intimately connected to this place. I will not fall into the trap and pretending I can narrate the film, because it's a film that doesn't function with a traditional plot. It's not a narrative that has a character-driven logic. More so, I think one can describe the film as a cinematic utopia. We will talk more about this film, learn how it was made by our three guests. The film has 6 production countries, which is a lot. So we decided to have 3 of the producers with us here, and this is my moment to welcome our guests. I go in order of appearance when they were first attached to the film. And I would like to start asking Thao Dong. She joins us from Ho Chi Minh City. It's already evening with you in Vietnam. So Thao has graduated from the Faculty of Literature in the International College of Social Science and Humanities in Hanoi. She completed a script writing course at the Faculty of Arts and the documentary film course at DocLab in Hanoi also. So this is her first film, her first step as a producer with a company which is called Le Bien Pictures. And I would like to ask Thao, as much as I will ask also our other 2 guests, in the beginning, what is the producer for you? The producer, in my view, maybe some people will contradict, but I think the producer within the filmmaking process is the one position that is really up to define what he or she makes out of this job. Let's say a little bit different from a composer. So what is attractive for you being a producer? Maybe also what is difficult in being a producer from your perspective. So Thao.
Yes, actually for me, I think because before I have any plan to being a film producer, I choose being film producer because for me, it's like the satisfactions of sensations that the whole my experience when I work with Lê Bao on the working process and the way I observed he work on the film. That's that's make me feel um, the how to be a film producer. I think the first thing I need to understand director. Um, I try to understand his emotions, the dynamic of his emotions first, and then I understand what he wants to do on his story. Um, and then I try as much as possible to help him. But from my side, we share together about the feeling, about the film, about the painting, about um, the novel, everything we can talk, and we keep talk and talk every day to uh, give to Bao to opportunity to create a new world in his mind, and that's the thing I I think about the being film producers. For me, it's quite very attractive me because it kind of I can journey by my way. In fact, I don't want to travel a lot, but being a film producer, work with Bao, work on the story, that means I can work on the new world and I can travel by that way.
Thank you, Taudo. Marie Dubas is a producer. Her company is called Deuxième Ligne Film. It was founded in 2014. And Marie joins us from Normandy. She has quite a lot of films that have been exhibited here at the Berlin Film Festival. I mentioned The Wound from South Africa. Teona Meteshka, God Exists. Her name is Petrunia, which was in Berlinale competition in 2019. Hivot Getanes, A Fool God, a short film, and now in Encounters, Leo Bao's Taste. Marie, the same question to you. What attracts you to being a producer, and what is the area that you may not like so very much in that field of responsibility in a filmmaking process?
Well, I think the reason why I'm a producer in the first place is that I'm still amazed by the fact that whenever there's a director who tells you, I want to make this film for this reason, here's my intention, then a few months and a few years after that, you end up showing the film to an audience, and there are some people in the audience that tell you, oh, that's how I felt, oh, that's what I received from the film. And these are the exact same words that the director used to define his intention. And it's really magic. It's it's a phenomenon that I can't explain to myself, but yet even after so many years and so many difficulties and unexpected things that happen while you're making a film, there is an intention and an emotion, that are conveyed. So this wonder is the reason why I make this, why I chose this occupation. The difficulties, well, maybe are related to the fact that nothing really ever happens the way you thought it would, but that's also one of the qualities of the job, I would say. Well, the hardest thing, of course, is to be told no so often. The amount of rejection that you get when you're a producer, but it's easily compensated by the successes, I would say. And when it comes to Tao, I just want to say that she was really impressive for me because as a producer, she had to work with a talent, Lê Bao, that is somebody who's very, very shy and who has a very difficult time transmitting his vision and intention. And Tao really is Bao's voice. And it was a crazy thing to witness how intimate they are, how accomplished they are, and how strongly she was the voice of the author. So I really want to thank her for that, for having been able to do this, because it was a crazy vision to defend, but she knew from the very beginning, she knew what he wanted to do. And as long as she was there defending his vision, we felt safe, like, okay, we know what we have to do.
Wow, that's quite a statement and a compliment. Thank you, Marie. Weiji Lai, he rose early. He's joining us from Toronto. As a producer, he's based between Singapore and Toronto, though. He founded E&W Films in 2010, has been very much involved in the Singapore International Film Festival as a programmer, academy overseeing the Asian selection, and has served on the selection committee for several funding bodies. Mongrel, I mentioned as another film title with who he entered the international stage, besides, of course, V or Taste by Leo Bao. So now that we have heard from Tao and Marie, I would also like to ask you, Weiji, this attraction to the profession of being a producer, if you could describe this from your perspective.
I guess it's kind of similar to both what Marie and Tao said to a certain extent, but there's always this, for me, it's like when you first hear an idea, there's this kind of, you know, we watch a lot, I think all of us watch many films, but I think sometimes when you hear certain ideas or something, there's this irrational sort of urge. And I think that's the most exciting thing for me about producing. When you hear something and you feel this irrational urge, like, oh, I really, that very first spark of the possibilities, I think that's what really inspires me. And then from there, and then of course there's the not so good thing is when, yeah, as Marie said, producing is really difficult. It takes a really long period of time. There's always a lot of obstacles that you don't expect. And then you always have to remember that very first spark, I think, and then remember, you know, this was what we wanted to do, and, you know, keep holding on to that. As Marie said, Tao is very much the heart of the project, and I think she always kept the focus, so we always knew what was the thing that we were striving towards.
This sounds, the way you talk about each other, as if you're really a dream team. Before getting into the real example of talking more about V and Taste, I think it would be a good moment to show the trailer of the film.
lèèyàn máa rò pé ọ̀nà tó ń tọ̀ tó sì jẹ́ pé ọ̀nà mìíràn ọ̀nà ni. Mo lọ́mọ kan sí ìlú mi torí ẹ̀ ni mo ṣe ń ṣiṣẹ́. Òun náà ló gbé mi wá sílùú tí mo wà yìí.
Không bao giờ quay trở lại nữa.
Òun ló gbé mi débi tí mo wà lónìí.
Thank you very much for this beautiful trailer. I said in the beginning that it's a cinematographic utopia. I'm sure we will talk more about what the film tells us and how it tells us. One thing maybe at this moment, we learn about the main character's life later in the film a little bit, that he's from Nigeria. He came to Vietnam to be a soccer player. And in the very beginning of the film, he is injured. He has a leg injury. And that forces him to live in a different space where he moves in with a collective of women, and they form a new life. So this is maybe for the beginning, kind of an orientation, what the film is about. Coming back to the production of this film, I would like all of you, even though you've said in the beginning a little bit already how you relate to Tao, but I think in this way it would be really interesting for all of us to hear. We have 6 co-producers. Who joined at what moment? And Tao was the first. When we chatted pre-session, she even said that she met Liu Bao for the first time, or heard about his first thoughts for this film in 2015. That's 6 years ago. So Tao, would you tell us how it all started for you?
Yes, I can try to talk very shortly about the way we met. Firstly, we get in touch on Facebook. One day he sent me a message on Facebook, and at that time, I think he simply probably want to find a person who he can trust, who he can share about cinema, about film, about his feeling. That's it. He don't want to find the film producers when he want to contact with me. So day by day we talk and we share the feeling, the stories about the film. And one day he sent to me the script, a test at that moment. I remember the version at that time is a 112 page. And after that, he come to Hanoi to visit me, and in the October of 2015, I come to Saigon to visit him. At that time, I joined some the meeting with him and some African communities in Saigon. That's really impressed me. That's like the new experience with me, because Saigon is very different. Hanoi, the atmosphere very different, and the people in Saigon is very, very different. So that really fascinates me. And after that, I have any concrete plan to stay in Saigon, in Ho Chi Minh at that time. But I think I want to help him to do the shots, the demo version, a test, and that can help him to find the money for film. And I think that will take a few months, and I stay in Saigon. After 7 months, we prepare and we shoot the demo version for test. And then after shooting, look at what he created, his image, the visual, and I really, really impressed the emotion that he nurtures in his image. That's really touched me. And at that moment, I decided I will stay here to go together with him. But at that time, I and Lebao, we haven't know how the exactly way to go with this project. And at that time, we met Waidia, and Waidia he appeared and he liked the people who show to us this door and that door and come to knock the door. And we learned a lot from him a lot. And the first time he come to Saigon to make the first meeting, and after that, just only one thing I and Bao talk about Waya. We feel the feeling of harmony with Waya, and that's very important for the feeling with the people and people in the first meeting. And after that, we have a marriage, and we also care about the feeling of harmony. And she have, because we work together, and at the same time we work on the script, and we share the thoughts about the script. It's very important to do by that way, for Lebao and for me to experience everything like that.
Wow, that is really a very nice way of you to introduce your two co-producers present with us here. I would like to hear from both of you, though, the special moment which you described as magical before. What was in the materials that existed at that moment? And maybe, Wei Ji, if you would continue, because you joined the project before Marie, what actually did you have? Was there already a script, or what was this magical moment that you described earlier with reference to V or taste?
In terms of the script, I mean, I came on board the project in 2016, and I think by that time, Tao and Bao had thrown out that 112-page script, and what I saw was hundreds of storyboards. So he had storyboarded the whole film from start to finish. I think we're going to show some of them later, but he had storyboarded extensively exactly how he saw the film visually. So he chose that approach rather than the script, because he thought maybe the script wasn't the direction that he wanted to go. For me, the magic was I first came to know about Lebao's work as a programmer at the Singapore International Film Festival. I watched his second short film, Scent, and it was a recommendation from a Vietnamese programmer called Marcus Mang, and then he recommended the film, and then it was like, oh, wow, you know, because I've had the privilege of watching a lot of, you know, really beautiful Southeast Asian films, and so when I saw Bao's film, I don't know, I just saw something, like I was saying just now, irrationally, I just felt, oh, you know, there's something really special going on here. I can't quite pinpoint exactly what. And then the very next year, in 2016, I saw the short film version of Taste that Tao was talking about, and I had that urge. I was like, I have to reach out. Not even from a programmer's perspective, I just have to meet these people, because it's so, you know, there's something really special going on. And I had never been to Vietnam before. You know, the funny thing is that I never go to places for vacation. It's always work related. And then when I saw the two shorts, I just had to reach out to them. I said, I just have to fly over. And it wasn't necessarily, maybe it was like when Tao chose to moved from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh. She didn't necessarily think she would be there for a long time. Just like I flew over in 2016, I didn't necessarily think, oh, I'm going to work on this film. It was more like, oh, I want to meet these people, because the film, I just want to know more about them and about, you know, their filmmaking process, because they seem really special. And then, you know, we were speaking. We spent the weekend together, and then, and I just said, because both of them are extremely charismatic people, and I said, you know, if there's a way to help, I would love to help this film in some way, to help to get this feature film made. You know, I have no idea how it's going to get made, but I would just like to help in some way.
Marie, 2015, 2016, which year did you join, and what was the moment that you felt, this is the film I want to work on?
I think it was 2018. I'm not sure if it was 17 or 18, but I think it was 18. And actually, I had met Wei Ji before, maybe 2 years before or something, because I was interested in a film he was producing, and I offered to be the French co-producer. So we had a nice meeting around this project that was called Popeye. And Wei Ji ended up telling me that he didn't feel like he needed a French co-producer on that film, because adding a co-producer to a film is always an opportunity, but also, you know, a commitment that is not necessarily in the best interest of the film. So if you can limit the amount of co-producers you join to a film, then you're happy. So he ended up telling me, we don't need you on that one. But we had a very nice meeting, however. And so when I discovered that I were selected to the atelier in Cannes, which is some sort of a project market, so I recognized Wei Ji's name. And the other thing is that I was super interested in a Vietnamese film, because I personally have a big crush on Vietnam, which is a country I went to maybe 3 times. And after this, third time, I really decided I had to find a project to co-produce in this country, just, to have an occasion to go back. So the first impulse was quite selfish, I would say. So I took this appointment at the atelier with Weiji, Tao, and Bao, and I was actually super surprised to meet that project. And there was already a few pictures and a few drawings of the storyboard, and I was honestly mesmerized by the quality, the strength, and the emotion of the pictures I just saw there, in Cannes under the sun, after a hangover, all the conditions, but I was stricken by the strength of the project. So that's when I expressed my strong interest. And then after a few months, I reached out to Weiji saying, where are you at with that project? And he told me, well, we just got an award from the Torino Film Lab, and my next email was for you, because now we consider we have room for a French co-producer. And that's how it started for me.
I find it very impressive that all of you don't put like serious business decisions or anything like this at the very beginning. All of you have emphasized that at the very beginning, it was a very emotional decision. I find this very interesting, and most of you have related it to the pictures that you've seen, which were drawn by Leo Bao. So it might be a good moment to take a look at some of the pictures, just so that everyone gets an idea of what was at the very beginning, maybe more important even than the script. Could we have a look, and maybe one of you wants to comment a little bit while we are seeing the images?
You can scroll through the images, I guess. I think there's a few. And Tao, maybe you can talk through them.
Mm-hmm.
So when about the sketch like this, when Lê Bao on the writing process, because he at last time he really understand and he knows what he's going to do, but to make sure about how the image appear, and at that time he talked to me that he want to draw the image, because we have no money to make the film at that moment. So he want to see his imagine his worlds from some sketch like this. And the one important thing about him, he really want to make sure about positions of characters in the film, and he want to make sure about the color. So on the process to drawing like this, he can try to find the right color that he wants, that he really feels the emotion from that.
Mm. Thank you very much. Maybe we come back to some of the pictures if some of the stories relate to what we got here as talents, as material that you've all provided us with. However, coming back to the production background, initially Christina said 6 production houses were involved in this film. So, that's a lot. Marie also said at one moment, when you are a producer, you better think very, very carefully how many more people come on board to be involved in one project. That is a project that has Vietnamese, I don't know. Marie, how is your Vietnamese? Weiji, how is your Vietnamese? Not exactly an easy to learn language. So I would like, before we talk about the practical issues, a little bit from whoever wants to give us an overview about the other producers, and what was the moment you decided to have them coming on board. The film, Christine mentioned it in the beginning, was also partly funded by the World Cinema Fund, which is attached to Berlinale. I'm sure that also had an influence on that decision in the course of adding more people. If you would just give us an overview, who else is involved, who is not present with us on this panel?
Maybe I can explain for two of them, the other French and the German, and then Weiji, you explain the other. What I wanted to say also, just to add something to the previous topic, is that when I discovered the project, there was also a teaser of the film that was actually very, very close to what the film looks like today. And that was a very important part of my decision and my attraction for the film, because I could see, and then when I also discovered Bao's short, that he was a visionary filmmaker, like a young Vietnamese guy nobody heard about, and who was able to shoot film in such a powerful way that I felt like there's a director here, and that's the reason why I want to step in. So, well, the next step to adding a fourth producer, who is the other French producer, is that, okay, so that's another personal story, because he's actually my husband. And he's also a producer, and he heard about this strange Vietnamese project I was working on. And one day, I remember we just managed to get rid of our daughters, and we had a quiet moment together for the first time in a long time. And he was like, so how about this Vietnamese thing you're talking about? And so I started pitching the project to him, and he told me, show me the pictures. So I showed him the trailer, and he said, wow, there's a filmmaker, and this might be for White Bunch. So his role, so his company is Petit Film, and his name is Jean Desforêts. His role was to pitch the project to Vincent Maraval at White Bunch, show him the pictures, and tell him, you don't even need to read the script. If you like the short, then it means you might want to come on board. And he said, yes, okay, just on the base of the short films and the trailer, which was crazy to us. We're like, that's so easy to get White Bunch on board. Of course, they had a relationship before, and since he knew this producer, Vincent Maraval wanted to trust him. But that's how this other French producer came on board and justified his position. But it was a very, I would say his role was really to advise us on the distribution and sales strategy and marketing strategy around the project. He didn't interfere at all with the artistic process. And then at some point we got supported by the World Cinema Fund, and we needed a German co-producer to come on board. And so we decided to offer this to Senator, who's a branch of White Bunch in Germany. And it made a lot of sense to us to have, as a German co-producer, somebody who was related to our sales agent. And to give them the distribution rights in Germany at this occasion. So that's how the two other producers came on board, but they didn't come with spending obligations or more complicated technical commitments. They were more silent, but a very important voice to advise us on I would say, the distribution strategy more. Yeah.
Would you introduce the other absent co-producers?
So the other two producers are Cinema 22 from Thailand and Effortless Work from Taiwan. So the way it worked was I had known both of them separately from the film festival and from films they had been involved in. So for Cinema 22, they worked with a director that I admire a lot, Anocha. On her film Dao Kanong, and I saw that he was really a lover of cinema, and I had the opportunity to speak to him about the project, and he, as with others, when he saw the shorts, when he saw the material, he's like, oh, wow, this is really special, and it was an emotional response as well, and then we had many conversations about the film, and then he was really happy to come on board. The film. Similarly with Effortless Work, they came on board towards the end of the production after we had wrapped, but also he's known more as the person is called, his name is called Stone. He's known more as a musician, so he's a famous guitarist in a rock band in Taiwan. And so I had always known him as, of course, like the famous guitarist, and also as an actor. He acted in a number of films of a couple of friends of mine. I didn't have any idea that he would be interested in a film such as this. But then the executive director of the Singapore International Film Festival at the time had mentioned that he's keen on helping, you know, certain types of films. So we had a really nice conversation as well. And similarly, he was really happy to come on board after seeing the materials. So similarly to what Marie said, they were supportive of the project, and they were willing to trust in what we did, and they believed in what it was. They didn't come with, I think it's like you said, it wasn't from a business perspective that they came on board. Of course, things had to make sense. Of course, we went through that kind of stuff too, but then their whole interest in the project was based on, loving the material and trusting us as people.
I don't mean to question what all you've said about harmony and love and everything so beautiful, but I want to come back to really try and understand how this dream team functions, the way it obviously functions. We have, on the one hand, a self-taught Vietnamese filmmaker and a debut film who's made very promising short films. And we have, on the other hand, 6 producers. Some come with a lot of experience, a lot of economic power. And looking at this, there is a big danger, even though everyone says, oh, we love this project so very much. But where are the moments when you said, well, this is how we have to divide our role between the various influences coming from the various countries on the project, so as not to squeeze the director in the middle amongst all this heavy, this massive production setup of this very, very sensuous film. How did you divide your work opportunities?
I think it happened very naturally, actually, because I think all of us had very specific strengths. Like, for example, Tao has the most clear idea of what Bao is trying to achieve. She would manage the production. She knew the team and everything like that. I guess I took sort of an overview in terms of having to know Marie, and I knew Jean because he was my mentor at Torino Film Lab, so that was really nice as well. So and having produced a few films, the idea was that like you said, to protect them as much as possible, but then also to make it make sense for the other co-producers. So it was about managing both, like you said. So in order for Bao to be able to make a film like that, we had to work with a budget that was tighter than most, I think. But then with that tighter budget came the freedom, I think. So I think all of us were very clear on the expectations. So even Bao knew that if he wanted to shoot this type of film, the expectations were you might have to work with more limited resources, but with the limited resources, that means you can flourish and do what you'd like. Yeah.
But how did you communicate, very practically? Did all of you individually call Tao or Le Bao, and then maybe different expectations coming from France and Singapore and Toronto, and how did you organize your communication between you?
I think I can answer maybe the most honestly and objectively, because Weiji is too shy and modest to say his real role in the film. So basically, that's how it went. Tao knew everything that Bao wanted to do. She was the ear he was talking to, and she was the voice for all the rest of the crew and the co-producers, because again, Bao is a very shy person, and it's extremely difficult to express in words whatever he sees. So she was there all the time. She was the main communication, and I would say maybe almost the sole communication route to Bao. Then there was Weiji, and what he's not saying is that he was extremely hands-on, meaning I don't know how many times he went to Vietnam for the prep production and shooting, but maybe there was 7 to 8 times or something like this. I don't know if you counted, how many times you went? Yeah.
So no, I didn't.
Next to 10, I would say, which is a lot for a co-producer to attend the shooting. So he knew, I don't know, maybe 70% of everything that happened. And then he filtered a lot of things to me. So he was my main channel to get information. And he spared me a lot because a lot of crazy things happened during this shooting. And today, I don't even know all the things that happened. So maybe he transmitted, I would say, 30% of the information, the ones I needed, and not too many, so I would not freak out. And
okay,
then the other...
sorry. But before you continue, when you say something, of course, you provoke the question, please give us an example, one anecdote of the crazy things that were shielded from you.
They will. I was not on the shooting, so I cannot report whatever crazy happened, but I'm sure they will know that I have opened that door. And then the other co-producers, they knew, because of the nature of the project, that they wouldn't know anything and that they wouldn't have to interfere in anything. They were super curious to see a cut, to see the film, and to, you know, give us input and impressions on the cut, but they knew it was helpless to try and have a voice during the filmmaking process. And actually, I don't think they really wanted to have this position. They were very happy to be attached to the project in a silent way, more or less. And they trusted us to just call them if we had a question. But otherwise, I think they knew from the material that it was not even worth thinking having a voice in the process, because Bao's work is so specific. So if you jump in a project like this, well, you know, it's up to the author's vision. So that's maybe also the reason why we had such a small budget. We had approximately 350,000 euros, which is really, really a small budget, but that allowed us a lot of freedom, as Wei just said.
So now the crazy story. I would like Tao to give us an example of what happened. Even when some of us haven't watched the film yet, we can see, oh, this is a difficult shooting environment. It was shot on original location in an old abandoned hotel in a neighborhood which doesn't even have streets. It has mainly waterways. So Tao, give us at least one example when something happened that you said, I don't want to cause a heart attack on my other co-producers, and maybe, you know, after things were solved, you told them, but for the moment you kept it nicely and secretly for you within the production team on ground.
Yes. Actually, for me, I'm not sure about the crazy thing that Marie feel from her side. But for me, because I'm producer, that I always on set, so a lot of crazy things, because just in terms of this film, just example like the time that we shooting on the house where the man and the woman gather and live together. That time, I feel with the character, the woman and the Nigerian actor, they can experience a lot of different emotions. Yes, and we can, but that's sometimes they react with the everything happen on the set. So they kind of they become a little the little girl and the little boy at that time, and at that moment we have to stop and let the people take a rest. And I have to the director and the first AD call me inside, and I have to come to them and talk to them, saw them like talk to the baby, And yeah, but very interesting thing because just very short moment. But in tomorrow, when they very tired at night, but tomorrow after they sleep, they very excited for the new day shooting. They wear their makeup and they make their hair and very excited to the new day shooting. And also, I think we have some locations, some scenes. The people, the whole crew work very hard, but actually, when we edit, we don't use that scene. That's like we had to the scene we shoot on the river at night, and when we have to wait to water down, and we have to make a bridge under under the river. That's it. But that is a crazy thing. But we don't use that scene on the editing.
I think we have a question already. I'm a little bit irritated with, this. Okay, so a question from the talents. The talent who I don't see yet wants to know, when did Wild Bunch get involved? Okay.
That's a question for me. They got involved, so that was summer 2019, I think. No, summer 2018.
Yeah, earlier, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. And I would say 6 months prior to the shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, we will open up for questions in a little while. 2, 3 more things. Allow me, please, to ask the producers. And this is one. So as the talents are very, very much aware that this is a dream team and everything seems so smooth and everything. Talents is about sharing what went, perfectly well, but it's also about sharing, looking back at this long journey. I wonder, were there ever moments, decisions that you've taken in the course of this project where, from today's point of view, you would say, oh no, this was wrong. I wouldn't have done this. So it's because learning from mistakes sometimes also is very enlightening for those people who have projects in the making that might follow at least a bit the path you've taken with taste.
I guess I'll go first and then seems like everyone's a little bit shy. I think, it was a difficult project, like you said, and I don't, of course we're making out like it was a dream scenario, but I think I don't necessarily regret any of the decisions we made, because I think every step of the way, because all of us on board the project knew that it was a certain kind of project, so we were always very cautious. When Tao and Bao first met me, they were very cautious with me, and then when we brought Marie on board, Jean on board, all the other producers came on board the project. It was always a very cautious process. It was really to make sure that it was the right fit, because I think with any co-production, especially like you said, a co-production with this many countries, there needs to be a chemistry. So maybe, let's say there's this, some super famous producer that wants to work on the project, but they might not be the right fit for the project, or the chemistry might not be right, or as you say, like the power dynamic or expectations might not be right. But I think because for this particular arrangement of producers, and because all of us separately happen to know each other quite well and know what we're about, I think that helped a lot in terms of and the communication. So the business stuff, of course, is important, and that came later. But I think on the basic level, I think when we were meeting each other for the first time, it was about knowing who this person is, and knowing that, okay, I'm going to be working with these people for a long period of time. Can I stand working with these people for this long period of time? And the answer in this case, of course, was a resounding yes. And then all the business stuff will come I guess, quite naturally, actually. The administrative sort of, all those kinds of things, it comes quite naturally once you found people that that you connect with. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to say something negative about the process, because I know how important and fruitful it can be for other people to hear these these faults these mistakes that you can commit sometimes. But on this project, there wasn't. I really don't find. I can't pinpoint a thing that we could have done differently. I think it's very much because we knew, it was obvious for us from the beginning that if we wanted to do this film, we had to follow Bao's vision and whatever was good for him. So in a way, it was a simple decision-making process because his vision dictated everything. But just to come back to the things that sounded crazy to me shooting-wise, and I think Tao doesn't even realize it's crazy. For instance, like I remember that the shooting first day was delayed because the crew considered that somehow astrologically wise, in an astrologically level, it was not the right day to start. And for me, it was like, so we're delaying a week? And they're like, yeah, that happens all the time in Vietnam. I mean, astrology is like super important. So there was a definite no from the crew to start on this day. The other thing is that the shooting, I think, lasted for much longer than was initially planned. It was something like 60 shooting days, while initially it was much less. But they could do it and they needed it and they made it happen. And I think what I don't regret is to have, I don't regret to have known so little about the shooting process, because from my French normative point of view, I would have said no to so many things they said yes to. And when I went to the shooting for a few days and I saw how they did it, I was like, oh, that's crazy. They're working so much in such crazy conditions and all. And Weiji told me, quiet, to look at what is happening and you will see it's different from where you come from, but it's fine. So yeah, I can't really find a thing that we should have done differently.
Yeah. Okay, so I hear the talents are eager to jump in our discussion, so I won't take too much longer. But one last thing, I don't know if it's too complicated a question to answer shortly. This film really has benefited from the various markets, from knowing people who you met through festivals, through screenings. This is what you've described in the beginning of how this project came together. Where do you stand February 21, where all these meetings happen, yes, virtually, and everyone is allowed into breakout rooms and virtual meetings, and labs still happen also here at Talents. But maybe you can give us a little bit of a feeling. A project like this, do you think this would be possible? It would have kicked off like Taste did in the various labs, in the various places that were necessary for the film's journey to stop before all of you got on board?
Weiji, you're the expert. Come on, speak up. You know the best answer.
I mean, I have been involved in a project where we were part of a virtual sort of lab last year, Mongrel, as you mentioned at the start of the talk. And and I think, like, before we started this session today, you were talking about how the interaction, there's more interaction in the virtual sphere in a strange way. But I don't know. So I think there's give and take. I think in a way you might be more interactive, or there might be more reactions or more people. There's more potential to meet more people on a virtual sort of platform. But I'm not sure that, like, for a project like Taste, I don't know if something would be lost, because so much of it is because Tao, like I think I said earlier, because Tao and Bao are so charismatic in person. I'm not sure that charisma can, maybe it can, I don't know, that charisma can come off on screen, for example. Like a person's presence, I think, sometimes a person's presence, I think it makes a difference when you see them in person and you see their mannerisms and everything. And what I miss the most about the in-person, and I think that where we form the most connections is actually, it's not during the sessions, but it's when you're at the dinners or after the sessions, when you're waiting to use the bathroom or you're getting another coffee. Those kind of mundane conversations, I think that's where the little sparks come. So the tricky thing I think would be to find a way to replicate that on a virtual platform. So I mean, in the case of like a film like Mongrel, I'm not sure, because a lot of the people that I find myself speaking to and actually forming deeper connections to are people that I've already known from previous markets, and then you just reconnect virtually. So I'm not sure if I had not met a person before, if it would be as easy a process to connect. I think maybe it just takes a longer process, longer time. I'm not sure.
I guess it's a very individual approach, individual reply, and possibly individual questions relating to this. And I'm sure this is what maybe the talents have to ask to our three guests. So we would do as such. Please raise your hand, your Zoom hand, like this in the bottom. And we will have you live on screen if you're not putting your question in the chat, so that you will have an opportunity now to directly ask our three guests. And Christine tells me there is... Okay, so.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Please.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Nelson Ike. I'm from Nigeria. You know, for me to see the story, it reminds me of my journey as an immigrant. You know, I study in Switzerland. I'm based in South Africa, and I'm a filmmaker. So my question would be, since this is a Nigerian story, I want to know, is there any Nigerian who is part of the creative process or part of production that's involved in the story, you know, to help to tell the story in a place that people will have their voice heard, and also for the fact that Nigeria has an eyeball. If you think of getting more eyeballs to watch this story, is there any Nigerian who is part of this process of the creative process of the story?
Who is answering?
Who's answering?
Tao, maybe you can talk about the process with EasyQ.
Yes, actually, maybe you might know a little bit about the African communities in Saigon. The African community in Saigon is now come up to the 2,000 people, and the half of them, I mean the 1,000 people, is Nigerian. And the way they come to Saigon, they want to do business, they put up the clothes and they export back to the African, their hometown, to get the more income. And some of them, the most of them, they come to Saigon because exactly like the main character in real life, he comes to Saigon because he wants to become a professional soccer in Vietnam. Because in Vietnam we have a lot of football club, and one of the football club they have they need choose foreigner soccer, and that's why some young young men from Nigeria, young men from African, they want to come to Vietnam to find the opportunity to become a professional soccer. And as I mentioned, that our main actor Ezekiel, his name is Ezekiel. He is the young man like this, and you know the African communities is very precise background, very important background for the film, because Lebao get the feeling for the idea about this film, because when he take a bus to go to school, and he saw some young men African on the bench from the last bench, and that's the first time he saw them, and he saw them day by day on that bus, and he curious about them, and he observed them. He really want to get the feeling, the emotion from them, because he didn't come to talk to them, but he get the emotion from them. That's why he want to create a story about the African community in Saigon.
If I may add,
And
about the
when he really want to do this film, he start to explore the African community in Saigon. He had some his friends help him to go with him to translate to him when he want to talk to them. And day by day, a lot of night, they drink beer together, take a coffee on the street coffee shop, and then they share small story, and he slowly know more about their life in Saigon, how the life talk, and
okay.
that time he planned to find the actors for this film.
Thank you very much, Thao, for this.
He followed the man that he really liked in 1 year. But after that, before we shooting the short film, the demo version, that man he denied he don't want to join the film anymore, and that's time very dangerous for the process of the film. But after that, we really lucky, and we met Ezekiel, and the first moment we see Ezekiel, and we feel that he is the right person for this film. And after he involved the short film, and he talked to them that he want to follow the long film. And at that time I thought.
Thank you very much, Thao, for giving us insight in how the film was developed, and just also a little anecdote for you to add and understand the concept. All actors, actresses in this film are amateur actors, and Thao has just described the very beginning of the Nigerian character and how he was involved at the first stage. The others at a later stage also, I would imagine, came in with much of their own story. I hope this answered your questions, and maybe we can have the second question coming from the talent.
Hello. I wanted to know about. Hi. Can you hear?
Yeah, we have an echo. Maybe can we get from direction when this? I don't know your name. Sorry. When you can start talking. Yeah, now it's fine, I think.
Yeah. So I wanted to know if there are so many co-productions in so many locations, how does the actor try to connect with the location and the story? How does it work?
This is a question directed to Tao Dong, I guess, because she
Yes.
was on ground. So Tao, once more, please for you to answer this question.
Yes, about the answer for youth, I think this film we have 8 locations, and we have 4 the main actors, 4 the middle-aged Vietnamese woman and the young man Nigerian Ezekiel. So you can see on the story, and we describe the people firstly at their own space, at their house, at their own space, and then they move together in the big house, abandoned house, to live together and do a lot of things to get more emotion, to interactions with them.
I hope this answered your question. Christine, can we have the next talent answer? Hello.
Hi. First of all, congratulations. The pictures and the visuals look very rich and interesting. I'd like to ask also about the creative process, because I heard something that Tao was the voice of the director or of the film. So I'd like to learn more about this, especially that there are, I think, 5 or 6 producers, I'm not sure. So how did this work? Was it completely in the director's hands, or the producers were involved or had some involvement or had some issues or disagreements, or how was it? And what does it mean, the voice of the film? I'd like to know more about this. Thank you.
I would like to have Marie answering this, because you used this phrase in the very beginning of describing Tao's role. Maybe you could yet again explain how the communication flow was, and what role all the other producers, the special role you gave to Tao.
Yeah, well, I think the moment when I spoke to Bao most was during the script writing process and the editing process. So that's when he was available and he had time to hear feedbacks, and I must say he was very happy to take them into consideration. But when it came to the shooting, there was no time or space to distract him, and so that's when Tao was really his voice. And you have to know that Bao being very shy and not too much at ease with words, it was very important that there was someone able to really talk for him in a way that he felt super confident with, and we knew that was the truth regarding what Bao had in mind. And then, as I said earlier, like there was this, I don't know how to describe it actually, but Tao knew everything, Wei Ji knew most of things, and I knew whatever I had to know. And then all the other co-producers weren't involved with the shooting and pre-production. They just came back during the editing process, and that's when we asked them for feedbacks. But no one interfered with whatever Bao wanted to do, because we knew, I think, or maybe Tao did. Maybe if there was someone who said, don't do it like this, it was Tao. And maybe sometimes for emergency reasons and safety reasons, Wei Ji said something like, you might want to reconsider your plan. But that's Bao didn't have to cope with more compromises than this, because we knew it was not the kind of film when you ask the director to make any compromise.
But when was the moment? I'm picking up on what you've just been asking. We've been describing the screenwriting or the pre-production development. When was the moment that you decided, all 6 producers, this is now a moment when we want to see something? Was it during the production that you wanted to see what earlier called was rushes, or was it like the first rough cut? Who participated in the first rough cut session? Was Li Bao there? please tell us about what happened after the shooting.
Well, actually, we had a really good DIT person on set, so we wouldn't be sent the rushes because the file size was too big, but then they would send screen caps of every single shot that they shot that day. So we'd have a sense based on the stills of what they shot each day. We took our time in terms of picking when was the right moment because we wanted fresh eyes for each edit. So I would say that Bao, Tao, and I watched the earlier cuts, and then I think maybe Marie and the other producers came on second or third cut onwards. Just to jump back a bit to talk about what you mentioned and maybe address some of the questions earlier. Although Bao is, he has a very clear sort of vision of what he wants. As Maria said also, he's very open. So because all of them are non-actors and their stories need to be heard as well. So I think it was always about, I think part of the reason of throwing out his script and going back to the images is because he wanted to meet with people and, their own stories are in the film as well. So he's known, all of the actors, EZQ and all of the women, he's known them for that period of time, 2015, 2016 till now. They've been to both of they've been to each other's houses. They've had many, many meals and conversations together. So it's a cumulative sort of collaborative sort of thing. At the end of the day, he has a clear sense of what he would like to achieve, but there was always conversations with everybody. And there's a little bit of everybody within that film because I think he's open enough to know, to take on feedback, yeah.
Thank you very much. I hope this answered your question. So can we have the next talent, please, asking the next question? Hello. I can't hear you. Can everyone else hear you? Maybe you unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I am Suchita from India. It's a great session. Thank you so much. I had 3 quick questions. One was that, what was the average time to raise funds for Taste? Second one is, what was the safe budget for this film? And the third was that, did you guys look at pre-sales right at the beginning of the project?
Very precise questions. Now we come to the numbers part.
Do you guys want me to answer it or?
Why not?
I don't remember when we raised the first money. That was Torino, actually.
Yeah. No, I mean, we got like we got some development money in Singapore, and then it was Torino when we won the 2 prizes at Torino. That was when I guess it felt, it's one of those things, before you raise the first amount, it doesn't feel real. It feels like, okay, you're just trying to get this made and you don't know whether it becomes tangible. But then when we won the 2 awards in Torino, then I think that Torino Film Lab, that was when it's like, oh, okay, this is real. And then I remember at the party, we were still a bit like shaken. Then we were getting cornered in the parties by people wanting to speak to us. We're like, what's happening? But yeah, I think that it was, getting the first amount, it sort of led to a snowball effect. So at the end of 2017, we got one of the bigger ones. And then from there, applying to other stuff, then we started to get the other stuff. I think once you get the first one, it made the other ones a little bit easier. Of course, we got tons of rejections, as Maria mentioned as well. But I think the first one helped a lot. And of course, there was an ideal, perfect budget. And then there was the worst, very, very worst case scenario, sort of no budget sort of version. And then I think we had a happy in between, I think. Well, maybe closer to the ideal, but it was, in the end, what ended up happening, it was something in between. And related to your question about pre-sales, I don't know. I mean, it was very nice to have, it was totally not an expectation to have a sales agent on board that early, even before we went into shoot. And also for it to be a Wild Bunch, it was totally unexpected. But we didn't necessarily actively look to get a sales agent on board that early because we thought it's a first feature and it's a filmmaker that has not really traveled to festivals because he's, as we've been saying a lot, he's very, very shy. So he wouldn't submit. So the only reason that I got to watch it was because his friends showed me his film. So he doesn't share his films because he's shy. So yeah, it was an expectation.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. And I want to relate it a little bit to what I asked all three of you before when it comes to the festival situation and what chances are there for the talents watching this session. What Wade just described is something that gives another angle to what he said earlier. Well, Libao is such a shy person. I don't know if I've ever met him had we not had a chance of meeting in person, as opposed to where we stand today. I think what you've just described, the award, the presence at all these festival events, that is in a way also a way of attracting, within the huge amount of films, projects that are there. For instance, you being a talent and you having a chance of exhibiting your work, for instance, on the Talents website, is one way of putting a little, like this first tick on the box, so that there is an awareness that you have a project if you are a screenwriter or producer or director. So to put your projects on this map, it can be an award, but it can be also, for instance, being selected for the dock station here at Talents, to give you another example. Okay, we have the next question from Nelson. Oh, okay. Sorry, you're not Nelson. Whoever you are, you're welcome to ask the next question.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Igor Odintsov. I'm a producer from Moscow. And thank you for everything you told. It was really interesting. And I do have two very practical questions. I'm sorry for them, but I'm acting in a very practical role. So first of them is all what you're saying and the trailer of your film are very promising. And this year, participants of Berlinale Talents, we don't have an opportunity to watch films, if I'm not mistaken. So please correct me if I do. But is there a small chance that you can give us a safe possibility to watch your film? Because I don't know when and where I will be able to. This is the first question, and as I told, it is practical. And the second question, I would be really happy to have contacts of you, because I have a brilliant feature co-production project for Russian, French, Vietnam co-production. So I think...
Big question. Yeah. Would relate also maybe to the question what hopes you have as producers, what will happen to the film, that might relate to, where, what will be the life of the film after its world premiere here at Berlinale, related also to the other sub-questions we've just heard. Who wants to answer?
About watching the film, unfortunately, that's a question for Wild Bunch, not us. They are very, they kind of make their decisions about I mean, for good reasons. They're trying to, I think what's nice is they're trying to protect us, of course. But I really hope that you have the chance to watch the film. Hopefully, after this, and hopefully as the pandemic gets better, we hope that it has the chance to be seen on the big screen, which is where it was intended to be seen. So I think it's really sad, because I think Tao and Bao has seen it on the big screen. Marie had the chance to watch it on the big screen in the cinema just before we sent the DCP to Berlinale. I've not seen it on the big screen. I've only seen it on my laptop, so I don't know the full experience, and I just know that it's super different. For the second question, actually, I think our contacts are easily Googleable. I guess that's the nice thing about producers, right? We all want to be contacted. So our contacts are easily Googleable.
And then there was the question about the career of the film, like what we hope and think is gonna happen afterwards, after Berlin. Okay, maybe I can start answering. I think our main goal together was to strongly position Bao as a new voice from Vietnamese cinema. And from the critics that we have been reading after the first Encounters screening, it feels like we're on a good way to achieve this. Like, people react really strongly to the fact that there's a new voice coming from Vietnam expressed through the film. I think we hope that the film is going to have a long run in festival, not only Asia and Southeast Asian festivals, but also all over the world. And I think there is a chance that it happens. And when it comes to sales, I don't know. I don't know, because we didn't really have feedback from White Bench about this either. I think it's maybe not the moment when distributors acquire the most easily this kind of films, or maybe they make decisions on a slower pace than usually. So difficult to answer this question.
Content que nous soyons sur la même longueur d'onde.
Wow, sorry.
Okay, so I just got a card referring back to Nelson, who was our first talent to ask a question about the Nigerian involvement, and says his question was not answered properly. So I quote his question again: I would like to know if you have Nigerian filmmakers working on the actual film production, so that the story will fully represent true culture, will represent the culture of our voice beyond the actors. So I would like to maybe ask all three of you again. Tao has described how Ezekiel came into the film as a very important artistic contributor. Was there ever a debate maybe between you as producers to say, well, since we have the Nigerian storyline so present, as in the Nigerian community is represented by him, plus his son is seen on the monitor, did you ever discuss, oh, maybe we should look for a Nigerian co-producer to have on board? Did that ever come up?
No, I mean, I think Nelson's question, it is a very good question, and whether we should have a Nigerian filmmaker on board. I think in the instance for this particular film, I understand 100% where Nelson is coming from, but I think the decision between Tao and Bao and EZQ and the community that they met there was to make the film within, because the crew, if you see the credits, when you have the opportunity to see the film, hopefully, the crew is very, very small. Bao's field of trust is quite small. So, but once he knows somebody, he trusts them fully. So I think like EZQ trusts him fully as well. So in terms of the creative process, as I said, yes, EZQ is not a filmmaker. The other football players that Bao met, yes, they're not filmmakers, but I think they were very open to share, and there was a constant sort of conversation with them. It was not made in, this was not, and I don't think Bao will pretend that he understands the Nigerian psyche, but I think he spent years with them, and as much as possible, in his conversations with EZQ, EZQ's portions of EZQ's experience hopefully is seen in the film, because he's a valued member of the production. Whether it's, I don't think like anyone involved in the production, not just EZQ, but all the women, all the crew, they all have a creative stake. Ultimately, the name on the thing is, it's a Le Bao film, but I think everyone from the production designer, the actors, the director of photography, the sound, everyone has like an emotional and a creative stake in the project. And it's not like, oh, I'm projecting what I think you think on screen. There's always conversations. Yeah.
Thank you, Nelson, also for persisting in getting your your question answered. I think we have time for one last question from the talent side. So it's the floor is yours.
It's me, right?
Yes, it's you.
I don't know why I fall into the panelists. Good afternoon. I'm very glad to have been able to watch the film. And I have just one follow-up question to the last question. So as a kind of producers of this film, as the person who involved in this film and as a kind of like human being, what is the moment that all of you as producers feel that you are with the characters, like you are with them? Because I feel that this film is very lustful. It's very, how to say, the image is so strong and very lustful, and the style of the director is so bold. However, it's so hard for me to feel any moment that I'm with the character as a human being. So as the producer and as a person, what is the moments that all of you feel that you are with them? I'm curious.
I don't know if all three of you have necessarily the same answer to this question. And who would like to start first?
For me, I will answer first. Actually, that's come from the first meeting in person between me and Bao in Hanoi. That time he come to Hanoi, and the first time after a while we just talk via Facebook, and the first time when I met him, I'm very impressed and I'm very curious about Lê Bao. I can feel the energies of his emotions inside him. At first, at that time, he totally immersed himself in thoughts of this film. Every time I look at him, he just sit and sing in the meditations. And that time, when I come to talk to him, he start talk to me about, I'm thinking about this scene, I'm thinking about that detail or that other details, something like this. And from that time, I could say that that's the best thing convinced me before his image convinced me, his energies, emotions convinced me before.
Thank you, Tao. I'm not quite sure if I got your question right, but I thought your question was more relating to the film and not to Lê Bao. Yes. So in which way, allow me to try and rephrase, correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you.
I thought you were asking, when does the film allow you as a person and as a producer to have this moment, which in earlier times might have been called identification. When do you see, as producers, you or Lê Bao or the film invites for a close moment of feeling with the character or characters who we've met on screen? Is that what you were asking?
Yes, okay. That was what I mean. Like, this film guy is the others. Like, this film guy is like some kind of like those others, underdog in the societies. So I think that as a person, maybe just as an audience also, I need myself to some moment I sit with them, or like there's no screen in front of me, there's no vision of the directors. That's what I ask, rather than like, when is the moment you are with the director? I want to ask with the characters inside of story.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a particular film in the sense that it doesn't offer a traditional route to empathy towards the characters. So maybe the tools that you find in traditional films to feel for the characters are not there in that film. But and therefore, if you don't accept the particular setup that the film offers, then I can understand it's difficult to feel empathy for the characters. But for myself, as I understood that in a way, I don't think there's much symbol or hidden message to look in the film. The film is exactly what you see and offers the emotion that is on screen. So if you accept to be in a very direct and concrete relationship with the images, then I feel you can be with the characters all the way. I wouldn't say 25th minute of the film, that's when I feel more for the characters. It's like either it's all the time, or I can understand that you stay out of the film because it's particular. So that's an in-between answer.
But maybe it could be also like a particular scene. I don't know if this would be something that you might be interested in learning. I would know which scene I would pick out of the film.
I'm very curious, I want to know.
Okay, it's the watermelon scene, the watermelon eating scene. I think it's particularly stunning, the way it is shot and how, you know, this particular reality of living somewhere and having a relationship. It's the father and son eating watermelons at the same time without talking. It's a beautiful, beautiful image. For me, if I were asking myself, this would be the scene. But I leave maybe the last answer to this question to Wei Ji, maybe for a scene that stands out within this film that has like this rich central carpentry, a moment that particularly touches you when watching the finished film now after being with the process of making this film for such a long time. Where is the embodiment of that what you felt and described in the beginning as magic, like in its purest form?
That's a really difficult question.
Oh, sorry for putting such a difficult one for the wrapping up.
That magical, I don't know. Yeah, I can't think of a particular scene because I've seen the film so many times, and whenever, you know, because I was doing up the title cards as well, whenever I see the first image after the title card, you know, I feel it already. But then of course it's because I'm biased. So in terms of a particular scene, I mean, I think maybe the scene where Mien, one of the women, it's a tight shot of her, and then you see the blood trickling down her forehead, maybe that.
And the very old woman caressing her cheek. I have the same as you. But Dorothy, a lot of people mentioned the watermelon scene. So I guess we have the two most striking emotionally.
Yeah. So I think our time is up. When I'm looking at the direction board, it is a big thank you to everyone who watched our session, and particularly so for Dao, Marie, and Wei Ji for sharing so honestly the making of the film V, Taste by Leod Bao. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening, the morning, or the afternoon, and enjoy the talents ongoing.